Hello, boys and girls. It's time to do and to watch another Ask Guillem. I'm doing it from Barcelona, and I'm doing it with this because I just recently arrived from doing a little bit of Pilates. It helps my back tremendously. Great exercise. It's been an interesting week for many reasons. There's always things that you don't expect that happen. The highlight perhaps was the how do you call it? The chat, the conversation that took place between Kenny Dalglish, Alex Ferguson, Jurgen Klopp, and Gareth Southgate, with Kelly Cates as the host. I did a little bit of a timeline of it on Twitter, and it was wonderful to see the good camaraderie that there is between, say, Dalglish and Sir Alex, and some of the things he said. Sir Alex talking about Henderson, for instance, and suggested that he wanted him, but the doctors told him not to get him because of the way he ran, which could have provoked injuries, and he felt that he missed on a great person, not just on a good player, but on a great person. Interesting. Anyway, that was one of the things that happened this week, as well as finishing the draft of Maradona book. The draft is done. Now it's about 2 months of editing, but the draft is done. All the writing has taken place already, and I am working together on both the Spanish and the English version. So I've done it in Spanish. I got a translator, Tom Sherman, who's done a really good job. Mark Josh started it. Both of them have done great, and I edit the English version then. So it seems like the Spanish version, both in Spain and Argentina, is going to come out a bit earlier, a couple of weeks earlier, mid-June, and the English version in July, the beginning of July. So as you can see, I mean, the draft is done now, but there's still so much to do to it, including getting a cover, that, we are, there's still plenty of things to do, as I said before it all comes out. Anyway, that was for the personal bit at the beginning. If you think doesn't add anything, just put a note saying start in 2 minutes 20, because that's when he starts talking properly. For instance, I've got so many questions, so many good questions on Instagram now. If we started doing Instagram as well, and suggesting, asking for your own questions on Instagram, and loads of very good ones. So I hope to cover everything. Well, Senator Ralph starts with Alaba. He says, which club do you think Alaba would pitch his tent with should he leave Bayern this window or in the summer? He's not leaving this window, but there is loads of questions about Alaba. Today, Marca, I'm recording this on Tuesday, today has come out with a cover that is all done between Alaba and Real Madrid, and including that he has passed a medical, plus that he's going to earn 11 million euros net. My information is that he will earn more, that he hasn't decided where he's going to go yet, even though clearly his plan was, from the moment he decided to leave Bayern Munich, was to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid. That was his original plan, because he felt that it was a dream of his. He wanted to be in the Spanish league, and he wanted to be in one of those two clubs. But he's realized that the teams have lost competitiveness. He could help, obviously, but also that other offers are bring more money and perhaps more possibilities to win the biggest titles. Manchester United won him, Manchester City won him, Liverpool as well, and PSG too. PSG only if Neymar stays, which it looks like he's going to stay. On that, very quickly, basically Neymar is not in a rush to, I think I mentioned that last week a little bit, but he's not in a rush to sign a new contract yet, but he wants to stay, and obviously PSG want him to stay. Everybody's looking at what everybody else is doing, including Mbappe and Messi and his future. But Neymar, I'm pretty convinced that he will sign another contract with PSG, which will open the doors for Alaba. Now, the way it's been explained to me is that he may end up going to Real Madrid, of course, but the decision has not been made yet, because there's no need to do it yet. And he has not done a medical with Real Madrid. The story is that his representatives have decided to get an insurance, special insurance, in case he gets injured now. Imagine he gets injured for a year, nobody will buy him. So they needed to do a medical and create an insurance that saves him for whatever happens to him in the next few years. That's the medical, but it's not a Real Madrid medical. There was not a Spanish doctor there or Real Madrid doctor there. And as I say, he will earn more than 11 million euros. Plus you have to add the sign-on fee, so it's going to be expensive. Now, those are the little details. One more is that Laporta thinks that if he gets elected, and he's favourites on it, and we'll talk about that a little bit, he will take Alaba as well, or he thinks he can take Alaba, and will be one of the ways to convince Messi to stay, because now Laporta himself has said it, that if he stays, he thinks, no, how did he say? He said that he thinks that Messi wants to stay, and he'll make it happen. He'll try to convince him to stay. Well, after what happened this week with the sending off of Messi, and I'm going on a diversion, but more than that, just the fact that the team about to get the Spanish Super Cup, which in the summer is not a very relevant title, but right now has become an important one because of the format of it. But to see that they were almost there, and then a goal just before the end of normal time, and then another goal in extra time, and that Athletic Club became the champions. All that suggests, yet again, a lack of competitiveness at Barcelona, which is very, very difficult to change. I'll go back on Barcelona in a minute, because, for instance, Roloma98 is asking, is Joan Laporta, still in Instagram, Joan Laporta, the right president for Barcelona? I think we can move to Barcelona, because as I told you the story of Alaba. For me, it is a player that, and I have to trust my sources, that he hasn't decided yet. But yes, certainly Real Madrid is one of the clubs he wants to go to, and he may end up going there. But right now, he hasn't made a decision yet, and he's waiting. The problem is, and that jumps into the Barcelona elections, is that by moving the elections to Barcelona from the 24th of January to March, the 7th of March, at the moment, and if the conditions allow it, means that they actually don't have the possibility of signing players right now or start planning ahead, because Alaba will want to know who the chairman is. And we all think that Laporta is a clear favourite. He showed it by bringing more than double the signatures that you need compared to Victor Font, more than double, and about 7,000 more that you needed to actually be able to compete as a candidate. The three candidates are, as you know, Joan Laporta, Victor Font, and Toni Freixa. Just in a brief outlook of the situation, Laporta is not the Laporta, 40-year-old Laporta that came in 2003, but he reckons that doesn't need to say a lot to win these elections. That's why he's not promising anything that he cannot deliver. So he's got a structure, but less complete and with less layers that, for instance, Victor Font, who's done a really big job of replacing he's not very well known in the football, in the Barcelona football circles, much more now. But at the beginning of the campaign, his recognition of his name between season ticket holders was about 30-odd%. Now people know more about him, but he hasn't got the charisma of Laporta. He will admit that himself. So he replaces that with structure, plan, and ideas of how to get Barcelona from the hole that it's in at the moment. That's Victor Font. Joan Laporta doesn't need to say anything. He just puts that banner by the Santiago Bernabeu saying, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And just, he's been very unprovocative. He hasn't really gone very far with his words. And he hasn't told any media yet, nobody's published yet, what sporting directors he's going to have, what's going to happen to the manager. Of course, if Koeman does well, he may stay on. He doesn't seem to be committed to bring Xavi Hernandez just yet. Victor Font, of course, is the general manager that he will impose in the club. All those things, more or less, you know. But behind what's there, what you can see, I've got the impression that on one hand, Joan Laporta represents a little bit independent thinking away from the big media conglomerates like the Godot group that has got La Vanguardia and has got Mundo Deportivo, who are very much against him. Victor Font is an independentist, same as Laporta, doesn't want to bring politics too much to the fore. Laporta will be a little bit less shy about that. and his backing seems to be based on young businessmen who believe there is a way that is not the Laporta way, or is not the Núñez way. The Núñez way will be like where money is the priority, where the way of thinking about the club is that nobody's bigger than the club, and just generally a little bit like anti Pep Guardiola. That some reckon is what Tony Fraser represents, the club ahead of the of any personality, including Messi. I think Tony Fraser will be the one who will be less will feel that it's less trouble to Barcelona to actually see Messi go than trying to convince him to stay. While Victor Font and Laporta are talking about trying to convince Messi. Remember, the situation of Messi is that he's decided to go. So whatever happens now is him changing his mind. And if that's the case, let's see how hard they try to convince him. So those are the things happening. And by moving the elections later on, what it means is that obviously in January, I don't think it's going to be any signing. For instance, somebody was asking, let me see, on Eric Garcia, and Eric Garcia, obviously, he was a candidate to come to Barcelona right now for about 5 million euros. But they asked the candidates and they all said, we don't want to spend that kind of money because of the situation that the club is in at the moment. Let me just find somebody who's asking about it. Yeah, for instance, Senator Ralph on Instagram, just put a name, Eric Garcia. So the plan will be to get him at the end of the season when he comes on a free, which makes sense from that point of view. 5 million was nothing in the past. 5 million is a lot for Barcelona right now. They've run a debt of about 100 million euros from last season, and about 800 or 900 million euros, nobody knows exactly, is the total debt, which is crippling. Really, it's difficult to come out and try to find money to get big stars. It's not going to be possible for Barcelona for a while, as I've been describing to you. Now that's from Instagram. Oh, somebody was asking, would you ever become a manager? Hook at Greg. No, but I tell you what, one thing that helped with me being chairman of Beagles United is that actually I've got coaching badges. So I can go to the first team head coach, or the head coach of the ladies or the men's, and talk to them face to face and understand what they're trying to do. And if what they say they want to do doesn't come off good, I can also say, why is this not happening? And they cannot just mess me around. See, that's one of the reasons why I got the coaching badges. And of course, because it adds another string to my bow. So when I do my books or I talk about football, because I've worked towards getting coaching badges, I kind of see things a little bit different, and I think that helps me on the analysis of games, personalities, in the books especially. It was very useful, for instance, to be getting the badges as I was doing the Pep Guardiola book. So there you are. Rob Carr says, do you think Xavi is ready to coach Barcelona? Well, I don't know if you've seen, but he's won trophies. So that is one thing that helps, to be able to know how to win finals, for instance. He's obviously prepared himself with the idea of being the manager of Barcelona. He may not be even with Victor Font. He may actually become the general manager, working on the structure of the club first before he actually goes on the bench, but he wants to be on the bench. And how do you know when you're prepared? For a club like Barcelona or Real Madrid, how do you know? Do you know, when he was at Castilla, Zinedine Zidane wasn't very well respected by the powers at the club, by the biggest decision makers. It was like, he's not a proper coach, is he? The way he was dealing with the players in the B side and preparing teams wasn't that detailed. He goes into the first team and look. Pep Guardiola, completely different example, one that actually was very well prepared. He, as a player, already working on how to set up teams. And Xavi has been a little bit like that. So I cannot answer that one. I can tell you that I don't think it's the best way to coach in European top sides to go to Qatar. I don't think it is. But it is his first steps on coaching. And for me, I would say to him, go to another club, a small club, or somewhere else in Europe. Try yourself, and then see. But at the same time, Barcelona is such a special club that he feels is prepared, and who am I to disagree with that? Mark in Taylor 251073 says, West Ham are in need of a striker. Is there any out there that you recommend? As you know, because it's been published, as Nasiri is the striker of Sevilla, and Nasiri is wanted by West Ham. They put an offer of 25 million plus 5, but unless they double that up or it gets to 40 million euros, Sevilla will not sell him. Is the striker that has worked for Sevilla now. He's scoring. He's the best goal scorer in the side. He's doing it also in the style that suits Sevilla and consistently in recent times as well. So they don't want to get rid of him. Only if West Ham goes to 40, 45 million, then they'll let him go. But I don't think West Ham are going to go that far. We'll see. Carl Mason is saying, can you see the Mighty Espanyol back in La Liga next season? My best friend lives in Barcelona, and every time I go over, we go and watch Espanyol as he has a season ticket. So have I, in the second division. There's still good games. You can go now, still. I have to say I'm always taken back by how good the ground is, and we have nothing in England quite like it. It's interesting because I would say it's a very English kind of stadium, one that is worthwhile going to. And what's interesting is that perhaps he hasn't got it's not easy to get to. You have to walk quite a bit, but that makes it special as well. So it's a pilgrimage towards a stadium. And yes, I'm convinced that Espanyol will be in the next division next season. Sebastian Favre is saying, so far the communication from Pochettino has been very neutral and uneventful. Despite the benefit of a welcoming attitude of the media towards him, can we expect an evolution in the coming months? I don't think so, but Pochettino speaks French, and when he feels more confident, he may be able to do the press conferences in French. When you actually answer in Spanish and you get Mickey D'Agostino to translate, that puts a wall between the journalist and the manager. But also the journalists are not there. We're not present. We're on Zoom. It doesn't help for the relationship either. So I think you sense already the charm of Pochettino and his coaching staff. But for him to come out with more stuff, he needs to feel surrounded by people, and he needs to have conversations. You'll get to see that. But it happened at Southampton as well. Roy Hodgson told him, don't do the press conference in English. Do them for as long as you can in Spanish and translate it. So then you will block yourself from the criticism of the media or from having a direct contact with the media. That's what Roy Hodgson said. And he continued until he went to Spurs. But once in the Spurs, I think the journalists that followed Spurs will tell you that they actually had a very good relationship with him. And they all fell for the spell of Pochettino. I think it will happen the same. Mr. FF1 says, hi Guillem, what do you know about the Ozil situation at Arsenal and why it ended so badly? I am working on something to try to explain in as much detail as possible what the situation was. It's been very simply explained by many. I know that a lot of people prefer simple answers to difficult questions or difficult situations, and they think it's all politically related. It's much, much, much more complex than that. And I wish you didn't just take one side, and perhaps if I manage to put it all together, you'll be able to hear both sides and then take your own conclusions. I know that a lot of you have taken conclusions already. Nothing I can do about that, but I'll try to explain. Give me a week or so. I'll try to explain what's happened there. So that's it for now. I think we'll leave it there. Remember, there will be a live Ask Guillem next week, and also I'm preparing another podcast, another episode of the podcast. The one with Cesc Fabregas went really, really well. So suggest things, give me feedback, and keep coming back for me. See you later.